everyone, it's Alex of Coyote Star Astrology. Welcome back to my channel. This is my full moon in Aries video for the full moon on October 1st, 2020 Pacific Standard Time. Starting out the month with a full moon. Very intense energies that are honestly pretty reflective of the energies that we have all throughout October and even into the rest of the year. It's going to be a very action-packed next few months. We had Saturn move direct on September 28th. We have Pluto move direct on October 4th. So during this full moon, we're in this high intensity portal where both those huge Capricorn planets are finally moving direct, which we're going to be talking about. But as I'm making this video, Saturn is about to station. When Saturn is at a standstill, we can really feel the essence of Saturn, which is pretty dense. It can kind of feel like a boulder is sitting on the shoulders of the collective. It sort of brings things very much into focus here on the third dimension, because when Saturn is predominant in the chart, the higher etheric sort of Piscean, magical, Neptunian energies are a little bit hard to access. Saturn is not concerned with that. Saturn is concerned with the here and now, what is real for us. And positively, this gives us an opportunity to realistically assess our current situation from a very grounded perspective that's asking for maturity, and that's really asking us to actually face what is coming up for us in this sort of very Saturnian, serious manner. So the full moon is at 9 degrees Aries in direct opposition to the sun at 9 degrees Libra. When the moon is in Aries, it has us really looking at the self, looking at our personal identity, our character, and because it's the moon, which represents our inner world and our emotions, this has us really looking at how we actually feel, what is going on inside internally, what is happening emotionally. And because the moon is conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer, this can have us looking within at some tender places, potentially a wound that needs healing, or potentially fractures or aspects of the self, the ego, that really need some sorting out. A lot has been coming up over the last week. We are now in the pre-shadow of the Mercury retrograde through Scorpio. And we're going to be going through that transit in a minute. Step by step. So we are doing a deep dive right now. There's a lot of internal seas churning while also battling the harshness of all of the Capricorn in the chart. Because the moon is in opposition to the sun in Libra, which is all about our relationships with other people and how to achieve harmony and balance in our life, this full moon might be asking, what do I need to address within myself right now? What do I need to look in and hone in on in my emotional world? How am I interacting energetically within my relationships? Which can really go in many different directions. When we're talking about Libra, this can be, am I giving too much? Is there an aspect of myself that needs to be stronger to show up? Do I need to get more clear about what I really want? And Aries is the warrior. So this is saying, this full moon, because it's this climax of energy, it's like, I will fight courageously for my emotional happiness and my own healing. I will show up fully and bravely for what is coming up because I know that it is important for my own personal self-development. When we look at the full moon's ruler, Mars, we notice that Mars is retrograde and square to Saturn. So there is this sense of frustration or a sense of not being able to fully access the perfect ultimate desire or reality. When Mars is retrograde, it's irritable because Mars wants to push forward. It wants to go after its desires very passionately. And retrogrades are a retraction. It's about waiting. It's about going within. And the square from Saturn halts our forward movement in a certain area and says, wait, reassess, rethink this. I'm blocking you because there's something we need to look at first. So what's interesting about this Mars retrograde is that Mars energy normally likes to go outward. It likes to kind of like explode outward externally. Think of like a racehorse running out of the gate or a flower blooming. It wants to move from the center outwards. But when it's retrograde, that same fuel, that same drive, that same fire needs to go within. So there can be a lot of internal processing about what it is that we want. And also when we're looking at Aries, we're often looking at our anger and our frustration, especially when we feel potentially cut off from what it is that we desire. This can bring up this internal heat. Mars is also squared to Pluto. So there are these overarching, very powerful karmic situations and forces that are also halting our direction, also halting our actions, and transforming us from the inside out and bringing up a lot, forcing us to look at the nature of our desires and the nature of the self. Further reflection coming from the Mercury retrograde, I'm now going to go through the important dates of the retrograde, the important steps in the journey. So if you want to get a pen and paper, you can write these down so you can move through these energies as gracefully as possible. I'm not going to lie. This Mercury retrograde seems like a little bit of a low blow from the universe because, you know, we're dealing with a lot already. However, working with the Mars retrograde and that both are going to be moving forward in November, we see that we are in this holding chamber where there is deep emotional work to be done before we can clearly move forward with certain things in November. So all that being said, let's start walking through the transit. The transit began in pre-shadow, and I'm going to put these dates up on the screen. The transit began with pre-shadow on September 23rd. Mercury was in the sign of Libra, and Mercury was square to Saturn. So this may have brought up challenges. Once again, this is Saturn having to really look at something. And actually, Mercury had been square to Jupiter just a couple days before the 23rd. So it was interesting. It was like the square to Jupiter was like, anything is possible. And then it was like, wait a second. What's really going on here? Is this something I actually want? When we're looking at Saturn, we're looking at real life adult situations. Career moves, a move in general, some type of commitment or investment. And again, because Mercury was in Libra when it went into pre-shadow, definitely bringing up a lot of themes within our interpersonal and romantic relationships. So the pre-shadow period is where the cards get laid on the table, and the pre-shadow can often be more intense than the actual retrograde dates themselves. They're very important. So from the 23rd to the 13th, really be noticing what's coming up, because this is sort of like our retrograde homework, if you will. Another note is that at the beginning of the pre-shadow, we have the moon conjunct the south node, and at the end of this transit, we have the moon conjunct the north node. So again, this tells us that there is a level of emotional growth and maturity that is being asked for within this Mercury retrograde. For the next phases of the transit, we're looking at Mercury moving into Scorpio. When we're talking about Mercury in Scorpio, we are taking a deep, deep dive into our subconscious, into the shadow realms where things sometimes we don't really want to remember or look at can come up. With Scorpio, there's always the low road and the high road. The low road is the darker primal instincts of human consciousness and the human psychology. So this is jealousy, resentment, obsession, vindictive behavior, abuse, the darker aspects of sexuality, such as sexual obsession or abuse, misconduct, addictions, secrets. It's the shadow frequencies. That's the lower road. The higher road of Scorpio is the alchemical process of transforming out of the shadows into the light through the phoenix. So this is forgiveness, vulnerability, healing, and personal transformation through doing deep shadow work. And the choice is ours, which road we want to take. So moving into the second phase, we have Mercury go retrograde on October 13th. Now, just taking a pause, there is another little portal around this date that's very important for us to consider, and that is October 7th to October 17th. Mercury will be in opposition to Uranus. This is really what makes this Mercury retrograde so intense, so profound, and honestly is almost certain to bring in some pretty big changes, either internally or externally. Because Uranus is the awakener, and when Mercury is in Scorpio, the mind is deep within. So this is awakening deep, deep parts of ourselves. This can bring in unexpected information. Uranus works with this shock and awe energy. It's very unpredictable. And it's sending these surges of electricity across the zodiac to Mercury and awakening what needs to be awakened. This can definitely bring up patterns and things from the past. So if somebody pops into your reality from the past during this transit, definitely pay attention to that person and what they represent, because these retrogrades are kind of like a little time machine. It's an opportunity to go back and revisit things from the past and tie up loose ends or learn lessons or heal something that we may have glossed over or moved through without fully learning or gleaning the lessons. So yes, Mercury goes retrograde on October 13th. So Uranus may have brought through some bit of information or some situation that now has us needing to go in and reassess and rethink how we feel. Another important date is on October 24th and 25th. This is when the sun and Mercury cross one another in the sky. Symbolically, this is when the sun, which represents our will, lights up Mercury, which is our mind, in the shadows. So this can be clarity or insight into what we need to do in order to bring some kind of resolution. And then finally, Mercury goes direct on November 3rd. When Mercury goes direct, this is the green light to actually pull some triggers and have some resolution or make a commitment or make a decision or start to see things clearly. We notice that when Mercury goes direct, it is in square to Saturn again. So this might be bringing up the same issue as in the beginning or reflecting on the same situation, but now having, thanks to Uranus, a new perspective, a higher intelligence. And then post-shadow extends until November 19th. And post-shadow is just when things continue to dissolve, play out, and disappear. And then Mars moves direct on November 13th. So like I said before, November 13th, those two will be direct. Right around election time, of course. So we're going to have this huge battle in the sky between Mars and our Capricorn planets. It is going to be intense. And of course, that battle is going to be reflective of something that we're moving through. So we really need to gear up And I've got my popcorn ready. It's going to be a powerful next couple of months. But at the same time, while we're moving through the challenges of the times, huge upgrades and revelations are available about our personal path and who we are showing up in this new world. I mean, 2021 is like a new world. We're going to have so many planets in Aquarius. We're going to have moved through this last Capricorn battlefield over the next couple months. And beginning of 2021 is just this galactic Aquarian, really dynamic energy. So this is sort of that last contraction of the labor that we've been going through during this year of Capricorn and these crazy energies. And this last shove is intense. Some of you may actually be watching this video on the 1st, and I'm filming this on the 28th. Saturn moves direct tonight, and Saturn direct, Pluto direct. This means that the Capricorn energies in the world, those in power, the government, etc., will have the green light to really make their presence known. So I'm predicting that we may be looking at another lockdown coming up pretty soon here, or at the very least some pretty big power moves and displays of authoritarian power and control. So this could be just more restrictions and mandates, or a full-out lockdown again, right on schedule. When we had Jupiter go direct around the 13th, the cases with the virus skyrocketed. So I'm only assuming that soon we'll have the response from those in power, so we can be anticipating that, so we don't feel too surprised by any of that. And knowing that more than any other time in our life, especially until November, we might need to be doing some pretty internal processes while we deal with the harshness of the outside reality. But we know that when we do work on an internal level, this then reflects in the outer world. And collectively, as we have seen this year, there is a lot that needs to be healed before we can even expect to see improvement. We are doing the work for future generations right now. So I'm wishing you guys a very powerful full moon, full of healing. And if you would like to reach out to me for a reading, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm putting my website up there on the screen. Also check out my courses section. I put up a course for purchase, Journey Through the 12 Archetypes. But yeah, I'm taking appointments. You can reach out to me there. Also, I'm going to link you guys to my Instagram. I do a lot of astrology in my stories. I will definitely be doing a lot now that these planets are moving direct. Going to be a lot to talk about. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and a share. I really appreciate it. All right, you guys. Bye for now.